Hello everyone, and welcome to Torah For Women Ministries, Mountain Moments with Judith Garton. This is part of our prayer journaling lessons, and I wanted to discuss something with you. I've put for the next two lessons the armor of God on hold just briefly because I've had several sisters message me and ask a big question. I do not understand. What am I supposed to write in my journal? Well, today we're going to go over that, and I'm going to actually give you some examples from my own personal prayer journals. This is going to be divided up into two lessons because I am trying to keep these messages down to about 15 minutes, maybe a little bit more than that each one. So they have said, please help me. I honestly do not understand. What is it I'm supposed to write? So these samples that I'm going to give you from my own journal, I'm going to share them with you. So first, I want to show you my personal journal. Now, you've seen my bag that I made, my beautiful burgundy bag. There's my markers. See my markers, my highlighters, and my newest journal. There we go. Set the bag aside. This is my stack of journals. You see there's a nice little pile going on there. The first journal that I created was this purple one. It's a little blue in the photo, but this is purple. The second one I did is my green one here. I have it inside and connected to my first Torah for Women Virtuous Woman's Prayer Journal, because there are pages that I have marked in there, as well as in the purple journal. And this is another journal. I'll tell you a little bit more about this one later. And this is my newest journal. Now, depending on how much I record every year, I may go through one whole journal, but actually, I think it's the Virtuous Woman's Prayer Journal has 2 or 3 years worth in it. I wasn't as diligent as recording different things. I will say I am not the kind of person who journals daily tasks. I know that back when we were kids, a lot of people journaled or used diaries, and they recorded every little micro detail that happened in their lives on a daily basis. I don't do that. I'm just not that kind of a person. I write down things that to me are a bit more important to me. We'll go through that as I go through the whole list. Of course, this is my highlighter set. This is the set of 10 Sharpie accent highlighters. Again, that's the Sharpie accent highlighters. You can grab those on Amazon.com. I've seen them sometimes at Staples, but Amazon is actually my go-to for these. I like these. I've mentioned them before in other videos. They are my favorites so far because they don't soak through the pages, and there are so many colors, and each color has a purpose. And we will go through those as part of this lesson. And I've mentioned before that I have a prayer card or a journaling card here, which is upside down, I can tell. There we go. It is right side up now. This is my card where I have kept a color code, a color key for each and every type of record that I put in and want to pay attention to. We'll go over that. This is just a helpful hint. I will say that even though I love these amazingly beyond measure, there are 2 in here. I use a blue ink pen for recording in my journal. And I have noticed that my dark blue and my dark purple, both of those are very dark colors. They do have a habit of coloring over, especially the dark blue, over my blue pen, as well as the dark blue sometimes does color over black pen. So, and lighter colors, it really obliterates those as well. So I am very careful. I either mark the end of a sentence with these colors for my color key, or I will underline with these colors, just so that I can go back and still be able to read the words that are recorded there. So we'll set those aside and the color key aside. So I thought I would go over and spend some time with you telling you the different things that I write in my journals. To start with, I do sometimes record some daily happenings, but like I said, I'm not the kind of person who writes down every daily detail. I know some people who will record what they baked for dinner or little tidbits of things. I don't. I do record sometimes major political events. I will record major events in the world that are happening that day. If that's your style, to record everything that you do during the day, that is fine. Feel free to go ahead and record those things. For me personally, journaling is something to help me understand and magnify my calling in life, not just as in ministry, but also as a mom, a wife, a grandmother. So I will write down a lot of things where Yahweh guides me, directs me, gives me wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and answers to prayers that I believe have gone unanswered, because I always find out later that Yahweh did answer it, maybe just not in the way I wanted. So I always write those things down. I do find that I go through phases in life. Sometimes I'm in a mood where I notice challenges more than I notice blessings in my life. Other times I see more blessings than I do challenges. I don't even see things as challenges. I actually see a challenge to someone else coming through to me as, wow, this is a great blessing. This is giving me an energy and I'm going to go forward with this. So that is what I do. And I write all of those things down. Sometimes it takes a lot of time and pages to write down in my journal. Examples of blessings I do write down are, for example, financial challenges. If a financial challenge is weighing heavily on us, but I will write down what that financial challenge is, but then Yahweh always provides a solution for us. Often is from an unexpected person or place, and I can remember one instance, for example, happened about a year and a half ago, I think it was. Might have been about a year ago. I'm not sure the timing on that. It was the scholarship I was awarded for school. We had been praying and praying. I could not afford to pay for the school. I am truly blessed in the fact that I go to a school that allows you to study for free until you reach the point where you want to achieve the degree program. And when you want to do the degree program, you do need to pay for the fee to obtain the degree. We did not have the money. There was no way we were going to be able to come up with the money or save the money. And so Yahweh blessed us instead. We kept praying that he would give us the money, grant us the money. Instead, he granted me a scholarship, which was wonderful. It paid for my entire associate's degree, and I have accomplished that. I've continued studying toward my bachelor's and working on that, finishing that up as far as some final courses. So that was a great and wonderful blessing, and that is, of course, recorded in my journal. I see those all the time. That scholarship lifted a great burden from us. So that is one we would record. Another was right before the fall feasts several years ago. We had literally no money for food that week. And we didn't know what we were going to do to open up our Sukkot. Suddenly, we got a phone call from our friends and neighbors, and they called us. They're our friends, but they're neighbors. They called us and said that they were overwhelmed with produce from their garden. They asked if we could use anything. So we went over thinking we were just going to get a few fruits and vegetables, which was no problem to us. We were just grateful to be blessed with the food in every way. When we went over, we were shocked. They gave us bags and buckets of vegetables, tomatoes, sweet potatoes, peppers, everything you can imagine. And they even gave us some of their canned vegetables, green beans, fruits that they had canned as well, some applesauce, pumpkin butters. We had more than enough food for several days of feasting, and I literally cried. They had no idea. They knew we'd been struggling financially, but they didn't know what we were going through that week at that time. And that was a great and wonderful blessing to us. Other examples of blessings are things which mysteriously appear in our yard or garden, such as the raspberries I have been cultivating and trying to get to grow strong and healthy in our prayer garden. We have a huge raspberry patch. And it was funny, I didn't notice it the first year. I've written about that on our blog on TorahForWomen.com. The wild mustard greens that started growing in a damp spot in our front yard. They were not there the first year, then they mysteriously appeared. We have dandelions everywhere in our yard, and they're nice, big, healthy, strong dandelions, and we pick the mustard and the dandelions for salads. Plus, this last year, I discovered wild blueberries growing in our woods, and this to me is a blatant answer to prayer, because I had been praying for a long time and I kept asking Yahweh, I'd really like to be able to afford blueberry bushes. I really would like to be able to afford blueberry bushes. I do not remember, every year that I've worked out there in the prayer garden area, I did not ever see blueberries on any bushes. These are tiny little wild blueberry bushes that just grow low to the ground. They're not the big cultivated blueberry bushes we're accustomed to seeing. But I was tearing out things at ground level and never saw blueberry bushes. Then suddenly they were just there. And there's several patches of them that I'm going to start cultivating and nourishing. Oh, there was also the time, lilacs. I love lilacs. There was an old lilac bush in the one corner of our front yard, and I was going to tear it all out. Jim had mowed it over several times. It was just a short little tiny thing. Well, we noticed that because, I didn't care that he ran it over really because it was dying anyway. It started to put out little shoots off of the roots, and I got at least 6 little baby lilac plants that I dug up one year and I planted back in the prayer garden. And they are trying to thrive back there, so we're working on getting them healthy and strong. There are at least one of them is about 8 inches tall, which is really thrilling to me. I would like to see them grow even more this next year. We've had a lot of good snows and rains, so maybe they will grow even stronger. These are just a few of the many plants just mysteriously, miraculously appeared like this throughout our yard. These are blessings, and I write them all down because they're so miraculous in so many ways. People today don't believe that God blesses us. Where is he? Where are the miracles? Some people just call these things a fluke of nature. I don't, because they have been answers to prayers every time. And I have to say, I honestly don't have a marker, a special color that I have set aside for things like these miracle blessings. And I really need to get one. And I was thinking last night as I was finishing up my notes for this video, I think I need to get a gold highlighter, some kind of a gold marker to mark these things so that they stand out in my journal. So that's a goal I'm going to set for myself. Right now, I pretty much spot them because I fill those notes with hearts, lots of hearts and exclamation points, and you can pretty much see them anywhere in my journal when you're going through it. The second thing I record is sad events. I make sure to record those. In my experience, every sad event that's ever happened has always been wrapped around with so many blessings. You may not see them right away, but they come. And so I record sad events so that I can see the blessings. Now, I wasn't journaling when my dad passed away in 2003, nor when my mom passed away in 2014, but I would have written those times down because they did have blessings in them. an uncle who passed away last year, an aunt who passed away just after the 1st of January this year. I recorded these. You know, at some point in time in the future, my children may read these journals, or grandchildren, and that genealogy might be important to them. So I record those little family records, and that way someone in the future will have that information. Now, one way to record something that has happened in the past would be to pick a time when you're thinking of that person fondly. For example, I always think of my dad around my birthday, because when I was young, he always asked me, "What do you want for your birthday dinner this year, Judith?" And I always picked something that now is just sounds disgusting as a combination, but apple cider, fresh apple cider, and pizza for dinner. And that was what, so I will think of my dad. So if I were going to record something in the past and that was a time he popped up, I would sit down and take a little time and write that down. Write down what led to his death, things like that, little details, and especially if I can remember the blessings that unfolded from that experience. My mom, it would be for the last phone call we had. We laughed so hard. we were joking around so much, and just a couple of days later she was gone. I would write that down. I miss her around that time of year, the time when that phone call comes. It's funny, I don't have to be thinking of the fact that that's the time that she died. It will just pop into my head suddenly. So I would take that time to sit down, and if I have any new memories, I will write those in my journal, even now. And that way, I have that record of when they passed away, what I was going through, what others were going through, what experiences there were, and that will be a reminder going forward, especially the blessings, because when someone passes away, when our grief gets overwhelming, knowing about the blessings can bring us through if that grief creeps back in. And it's nice to include those details, what the family was going through, so that if they ever read those journals, it's the same. Now, I do have another journal I keep, and this is the one I said I would bring up to you later. This is one that is kind of special to me. It's very private and personal. I don't share a lot of the stories in here, because these, I call this my garden journal. You'll see it has a cute little dragonfly on the front. It really isn't about gardening so much, although I do include things in here about gardening. I write, I will record like what the harvest times were like, what time they took place, the planting season, if it's been delayed and whatnot. I will record what kind of fruits and greens and vegetables and everything that grew quickly, easily. And I will make those notes because, like for example, here growing in West Virginia at 3,400 feet roughly, it is much different than gardening in the flatlands like in New Jersey. Raspberries, for example, ripen much later up here than they do in New Jersey. I will see people picking their black raspberries sometimes in June, and ours don't come in until July at the earliest, sometimes as late as the end or early August. So I will write things like that down. But this one is so special because I started this journal when we moved here to West Virginia. I had been wondering what I was going to use this journal for with the little dragonfly, and I'm actually almost halfway through, so I might want to get another little one at some point in time that is small like this. My mom would have loved West Virginia. She would have loved coming to visit us. She would have loved it here so much. It's a lot like what she lived in New York. And she lived in the woods. She loved the birds. She had out bird feeders. She used to find the raccoons in the middle of the night swinging from her bird feeder. She saw a bear out there once too. So those things are really important to me. I've seen so many beautiful birds since we moved here that I never saw in New Jersey. My mom would have loved those things, so I write those down. Or if I'm outside and I see a special moment or event, I write it down, and I write these like they're letters to my mom. I always start them out with, "Hey mom, how are you? Know, I'm doing great today." Never "How are you doing?" because I know where she is, so that's not the question. But it just brings me peace sometimes to talk with her in that way, because I wish she were here for me to still talk to. So that is that journal. Now moving along, another big thing I record is, like I said, major world events. They can often be moving in good ways or bad, and you might want to remember those, record those. Sometimes I record them in very few words, other times I include more details. It just gives you sort of a mark time in life also. If you recognize, oh wait, that year, that was the year that so-and-so was president, or this was going on in the world. It gives you a mark time of what your journals are, what that time period was in your journal.